Welcome back to the channel, guys. In this video, I'm going to be showcasing you my Magic Find Lightning Sorceress build. Now, for this build, we start off with stats. So for strength, we need 156 base, and this is in order to meet the requirement to wear our Spirit Monarch, which we'll go over in the items. We don't put anything into dexterity. For vitality, we put everything else. In the early game, if you want to put a little bit into energy to help make your build more spammy, that's okay. You can switch it out later. You can keep it like that, have a little bit of extra mana. Ultimately, you want more health than you do mana in the end game. For resistances, we do cap everything. This could very easily be capped. I just need a slightly better roll torch or one more resistance for my all resist items on pretty much any of the items. Now, looking over at our advanced stats, we do see that we have 350% magic find, a little bit of extra gold find as well. This is nothing crazy, but it does help get a little bit more gold along the way. The important stat to note, however, is the faster cast rate. Now, obviously, the final breakpoint is 200%. It's not something you want to really try to aim for just because you're focusing so much on faster cast rate to go from 124 to 200 that it's really not worth all the magic find and other stats that you might be losing in the process of this. Unless you're trying to get a super perfect build for PvP, but this is not a PvP build. Now, 124 is good enough because the second last breakpoint for lightning, I believe, is 117, and for teleport is 105. So 124 does meet both those breakpoints for you to cast as fast as possible. Now that pretty much does it for the stats. There's nothing really other important other than cannot be frozen is a good stat to have. And the mana regen is also very nice. And that's pretty much it for the stats. Alright, next thing we're going to go over is the items. So for our weapon, we use the Oculus. It's a good weapon because it gives sorcerer skills, it gives faster cast rate, as well as 50% magic find, and all resist. This honestly hits so many good stats. It's a waste to not have it in a magic find sorceress build. The thing I meant by our magic find can be improved is this can be socketed and could have an Ace Rune in there, which will give you another 25% magic find. It's just something I haven't really gotten around to doing yet, but it's definitely something you can do if you want to push that little bit of extra magic find. For helmet, we have the Shaco. I have a close to perfect one. I believe 141 defense is the perfect stat for it. It does give 2 to all skills, 2 to all attributes, a little bit of extra life, mana, as well as magic find, and once it's slotted, you can throw in an extra topaz for more magic find there. Moving on to our armor, and this is where it's important. Yes, you can put stuff as Enigma is a bit of waste on a sorceress, but you can put Chains of Honor and stuff like that in here. However, those items don't have faster cast rate. So yes, this has one less to all skills, but it does have the faster cast rate. It does have the all resist. You take a little bit less magic damage, and you can slot it for magic find. And it's very crucial, especially given the rest of these items, that you use this just to hit those faster cast rate breakpoints. And it's not a very expensive item. So far, this is worth about a pull. This is worth about a pull. And this is probably worth around a pull. So it's pretty easy to get. Chance guards, mines are perfectly rolled. These might be slightly more expensive to perfectly rolled. If they're not, probably also worth about a pull. Get a little bit of more gold find, and you get 40% more magic find, which is what we're trying to look for. For our first ring, I do use a Raven Frost purely because I hate being frozen or slowed or stuff like that, so I don't want that, and that's why I use the Raven Frost, just for the cannot be frozen aspect. For our belt, we use the Arachnid's Mesh. This, again, not overly expensive, maybe about an ist. Low high rune, high medium rune, around there. But it does give 1 to all skills, it gives the faster cast rate, and a little bit of extra mana, which is all stats that we are looking for. For our other ring, and this is where you might need to find one of these, is a ring with a faster cast rate on it. That 10% extra faster cast rate is what puts us above the breakpoint. The ideal stats you want to find on it is the faster cast rate, resistances, extra mana is also nice, and magic find. Once if you get all the perfect rolls, it can get a little bit expensive unless you find it yourself. But you don't have to like force the magic find on that. The thing you really want is the faster cast rate and the all resist. For our amulet, we do use Amara's. I would like to get one that's 3 to all lightning skills as well as the all resist and magic find. That is something very expensive. So is this. I just haven't found one yet with all those stats, so I'm using Amara's, which will probably go for, depending on how well it's rolled, I'd say maybe between a Vex to a low, maybe a Surf, it's perfect. For our shield, we do use the Spirit Monarch. All the runes used for this shield are very low runes. There's nothing crazy to them. They're not hard to get. The shield itself might be a little more expensive, but again, for a 4-Rose Monarch, especially if it's not superior, probably get one for about a pull around there. The thing to note is the cast rate can vary. Mine's 1 away from perfect. 2 to all skills, also very nice. Defense versus missile, very nice. The resistances, very, very nice. So this is ideally the best in slot shield that you will get for this build and for most sorcerers builds in general. Moving on to our boots, we have the Word Travelers, and honestly, we use these purely for the better magic find stat. Not to say the extra vitality and strength is nice, so is the faster run walk in town, and it's decent defense for boots. Overall, great boots to have for this build. And again, I wouldn't say they're overly expensive. Maybe around an to a mall, something like that. Depends how well they're rolled. Perfect ones might be an ist or higher. Moving on to our charms, we have the Hellfire Torch for the Sorceress. Again, this is minimum rolled and resistances. One better would have made me been it perfect. And then we also have the Annihilus for the extra skills, the attributes, more resistances, and a little bit of extra XP gain so you can level faster. And of course, we have the Geeds for the magic find and the gold find. Then I have a lightning GC. Ideally, lightning and health is the ones you want to get. Those can get very expensive, of course. And then I use just magic find charms. I have like 212% GCs, 4%, 7%, 5%, 6%. And then all res ones are also good to fill your remaining resistances that you are missing. And moving on, actually, before we get to that, let's do our alternate weapons. So on my alternate slot, I have another Spirit purely for all skills, and I use the Call to Arms. This can also get very expensive depending how it's rolled, or if you use it yourself, it does need an Istanome and a Maul, which are pretty up there in terms of runes. Now, the beauty of this is that it gives you access to the Barbarian buffs, Battle Command, Battle Orders, and Battle Cry. The extra skill damage, very helpful, as well as the pretty much double your health. So I go from 1129 to about 1750 with the Barbarian buffs. It's a decent amount of increase. Now, moving on to the Mercenary, and here's what kind of, it's not that it makes or breaks the build, but if you don't have this, you have to stay away from lightning immune enemies. Again, lightning resistance will be the easiest one to break, which is why we use lightning. But in order to break that, you do need a mercenary with an infinity. And the reason this is for the Conviction Aura, which will break resistances, as well as anything the mercenary attacks will have 45% lightning resistance. Not to mention the extra magic find. If the mercenary kills it, it counts as an additive to your current magic find. It also lets them move a little bit faster, as well as like a bunch of other prevent monster healing, crushing blow. Very good stuff to have on your mercenary. For Mercenary Helmet, you ideally do want Andario's Visage. I haven't gotten one. Any helmet with lifesteal is very good to have. This gives 10% lifesteal and 15 all res. And then for the armor, ideally you'd want a fortitude. It's something I haven't really gotten around to making yet. If not, a treachery will suffice. It gives them attack speed, it gives them faster hit recovery, and it can cast venom for them to do more damage. Oops. And fade for them to have higher resistances if they're not quite there yet. And that's everything covered for the items. So for this build skills, everything's pretty straightforward. So Under Lightning will be our main skill, and that benefits from Charge Bolt, Nova, and Chain Lightning. So on top of this, what you want to max out is Charge Bolt, Chain Lightning, and Nova. I haven't maxed mine out yet. If you do follow this build guide, it'll probably max out right around level 96 or 97. Lightning Mastery, you definitely want the max. And then this is good to have a point into just because, well, you kind of have to for Nova, but for bosses, if you want to just quickly melt their health, very useful. I also put a point into Lightning Storm, just it's an extra additive damage for free where you don't really have to do anything as you're moving around. I like it. Telekinesis, not important. Teleport, you want to put 1 point into that for obvious reasons. Energy shield, the same thing. You can put a point into it. I did. I don't normally use it unless there's like some crazy elite that just one taps you the second you show up on the screen. And for the most part, you'd rather just have your mana. This is a fairly mana costly build. So for that reason, I don't normally use energy shield. Under cold, 1 point into frozen armor, just for a little bit of extra defensive ability. And then under fire, you want to put 1 point into warmth for that extra mana recovery rate. Other than that, if you want, you could also put 1 point into enchant. You can buff your merc, but it's a little bit too much out there. I don't really feel the need to do that. But yeah, that pretty much covers it for the skills. That is going to be it for this build, guys. If you like this build, or if you tried this build, or if you have ideas on how it can be improved further, do let me know in the comments below. As always, my social media information will be in the video description. Be sure to like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.